Why, hello, those lovely people. Well, actually, I know. Forget the intro. Forget all that stuff. I don't even know if I'm going to even put a thumbnail on here. I probably will, but whatever. I guess this is random thoughts, but it's really not. It's more of me venting and getting very agitated. Very, very quickly. Why am I getting so agitated? It's almost been off for 6 weeks now for trying to find a job. As I already mentioned before when I put my other videos out, I've tried looking for jobs multiple times. In fact, I have looked for a job anywhere. Doesn't matter. I've gone on Indeed.com, other locations, and I've tried to the best of my ability to try finding a job. I don't care what job it is. I actually brought it up with my church we have this Irishman breakfast thing that basically every month every men comes together, we have a big breakfast together. I brought it up with them. I brought it up everywhere. I'm going to tell you something right now. Finding a job is flippin' impossible. No hyperbole, full stop. Why? Well, I don't really care what job I have. It doesn't matter. I don't just do anything. I already get told when I made a joke, and it's not even a joke anymore. I will shove a manure for 40 hours a week in a barn if it will get for $15 to $60 an hour, so I get a job. I'll do it too. I'm dead serious. But that seems not to be enough. Here's the problem with this whole entire job market garbage, okay? And it's very irritating, and you can tell how angry I am right now, and this is why I'm making this video in the first place, because I am beyond agitated, angry, whatever you want to say. I understand I'm going to be a little loud in here. I know I'm going to be a little bit frustrated, but this is the truth. Trying to find a job in 2025 is ridiculous and stupid. Why? Because what's the point? I have literally gotten to that point where I say, what is the actual point of trying to find a job? I know it gives you money. Okay? I don't mind getting a job that gives me money. I was getting $20 an hour and I still could barely make it. This job training money is one thing, but the thing about money is it's gotten so bad. The economy is so bad right now. Even people are getting $20 to $25 an hour could barely make it. I was making it barely. I was able to pay my bills. I didn't get to do very much I wanted to do, but you know what? At least I had a job. Then I lost my job because I had problems. And, I've already gone over that before in my other videos. But for a refresher, basically I had a horrible amount of stress. Stress and me are very diametrically opposed. And I made mistakes, 3 mistakes, and was kicked out. Okay? That's the long story short. I am beyond the point of irritation because it's been weeks upon weeks trying to find a job. Then I get a job, which I got for 2 days. And then today, I applied, and not even 2 days later, they tell me, oh, we're sorry to inform you that we're not moving forward. I've applied to other jobs too. And I'm not trying just to say any job. I'm going to do a part-time job at this point. But even then, doesn't matter. Because I have a degree, which is basically a blacklisting situation. It's a black mark, I should say, not blacklisting. Black mark and a blacklisting actually would be more appropriate, because you have a degree, they think that you were looking for a certain amount of money. Well, most people are looking for money to survive on, and most jobs won't pay you that. Even jobs in frickin' manufacturing, unless you're on a union or a part of the big 3, you're definitely not going to get. So, you're barely able to make ends meet. You barely can make money. And then, when you're trying to find a job, pretty much, no matter what you do, you don't care what job you get. You're not sitting here saying, I don't want to get this job because this job's too hard. No. The other thing is that there are some jobs I will not take. And that's it's not what you might think. I'm not saying that jobs are below me. But the idea of saying is, oh, you're going to work 10-hour, 12-hour days, 7 days a week is ridiculous. Nobody's body's made for that, and that's retarded. Okay? I'm sorry, that is retarded. You need to have a life outside your job. Either you get not enough hours so you can't make ends meet, or you can basically have a job where you can't even do anything with the money, so there's no point. You basically just keep working until your body falls apart, and then they fire you because you took too many days off because your body's literally so exhausted you can barely move. That's pretty much any job. It doesn't matter if you're manufacturing, even in a white collar job. You still might not have physical stress. Maybe there is some of that involved, but a lot of it's mental stress. And they don't care. If you can't do the job, there's the door. Forget about you. And it's not like, oh, you're not wanting to do your job. It's just you can't because you don't have the stamina to keep going. I'm just irritated because I just want to get a job. I'm going to put this on Twitter. I'm going to put this on a whole different places and hopefully even to YouTubers so they can get it out there, because at this point, I just don't know what to do anymore. I want to work. I want to do a job. I want to actually do work. And I want to give out there about what I can actually do. Okay? I'm not just able to do CNC operations in manufacturing. I also know how to proofread, and I also know how to write very well. I can write in multiple different styles. I can write narrative or in journalistic style. I can do journalism. Actual journalism. Not this ridiculous stuff they call journalism, which is nothing more than activism in a way, basically to push an agenda. No, I mean actual journalism. You know, the actual stuff you used to do where you got actual, I don't know, factual information that you based information on and basically gave the take of what it actually was. You made it interesting for the person to read. Yeah, that type of journalism. I don't have actual experience in that stuff, but I know how to do it very, very well. I have a gift for writing. I'm not saying I'm the greatest writer ever, but I'm not the worst either. But I can do those type of things. I can proofread, as I said. I learn very quickly too. I'm a very quick learner. I love to be able to learn new things. It doesn't mean, just because I don't have experience doesn't mean I'm not willing to learn. I love to learn new things. If you're willing to teach me, I'm willing to learn. I have some eccentricities, but that's not for my learning aptitude. It's for how I am around people. I have very bad body language. I have a problem with anxiety because the fact is I like to know as much as I can, and my anxiety, I haven't had an anxiety disorder since I was a child, since I was born. I've had it for all my life, and I'm able to deal with it. But sometimes what happens is it does come overbearing sometimes because I have these anxiety problems. I'm also supposedly, though it's very minor, okay, not like, I mean, minor in the sense of on the spectrum, if you don't know, autism spectrum. ADHD is actually a lot of times now considered to be borderline autistic, like with the body motions and loud noises. I'm very bad with loud noises, but I can adapt to that. Earplugs are my friends. Ear one, ear two, you get the point. So even if I have those problems, I'm not going to say like, oh, you need to give me special treatment because I have disabilities. If you have a disability, let me tell you something about disabilities. It's only a disability when you make it one. You might need accommodation because you might be disabled in the sense of physically disabled. So you need some type of thing there. And sometimes people, like myself, have other that are way worse problems than what I have. People that are autistic have a lot of issues, but they do know how to do a job, know how to do it very well. It's just they learn differently. And most people don't care because if you don't work the way they want you to, there's the door. Bye-bye. Okay. I understand that I've only been looking for about 6 to 7 weeks, but I've actually been online and seeing a lot of people very agitated about this problem, and they're way more qualified than me. This is the biggest thing. I mean, this Random Thoughts video is not going to be like my other ones where I talk about other subjects. I'm going to talk about jobs in general. And I'm going to talk about the problems here. Okay? A lot of you job offerers or employers need to understand something. You're not going to get people to work for the wages that you're giving them. There is no way, if I have 5 years of experience, have experience in machine operation, machine programming, tool changing, all this stuff, you're going to pay me $16 an hour. That's not going to happen. Sorry, that ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. I think you must be, if you're in a certain states, I think you must be high on the devil's lettuce, marijuana, because that's the only way you're going to get a person to work for that type of money. And some people do take the job because employers are literally laying people off because they're giving them too much money. And they're downsizing because of the economy. I guess we could go on the economy a little bit here because the economy here is absolutely atrocious. This is in America. I'm an American. I live in Michigan. Blah, 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 yakety schmackety. I'm not going to get specific locations, but that's pretty much where I'm standing at here. This idea of jobs, thinking that we're too lazy to find jobs or wanting to get jobs, that's ridiculous. You know who the actual lazy people are? Employers. I'm not saying all of you are. I'm not saying that. But if you're thinking that you should use a website instead of talking to a person face to face, that doesn't help you at all. And a lot of times you get people who don't know how to do the job at all, or are lazy and don't want to do what needs to be expected. You get the people that have experience. A lot of them are stuck in their ways. They don't want to change the ways they learn. And if they don't want to change, you just have to deal with it. Or you can get somebody you can actually teach and be malleable. Sorry, I'm not really good at my words right now. I mean, I'm still a little agitated if you haven't noticed. So a lot of times it's actually better the person that doesn't have a lot of experience to teach them because they're willing to learn and do the thing that they need to do. I'm one of those such people. And there's more people out there just like me too. But we also have the people that are lazy, do want to do the job, they want to just get the money. Now, money should not be a motivating factor for you to have a job. Money is great when you do the job, but you should enjoy the job that you're doing. The problem with it is, it's very hard to enjoy jobs anymore, especially when there's the other people I just mentioned who don't want to do the job properly and literally leave you with all the work. That's what happened with the job I had almost for 2 years. The job before that, I got laid off because they laid everyone off because it was a union shop and everyone that was 2 years or under got laid off. But the last job I got fired from was because of my quality and making mistakes on quality. Because I was getting stressed out having to push all the stuff from first shift to do my job. Because first shift wouldn't do what they're supposed to do and left it for us to do. We had 10 people below the amount we needed to actually run efficiently. None of these people. And then they laid me off and another person quit, I think, a week later. So now, at least if they're still in the same boat 6 weeks later, now they are 12 people below the amount they have. They don't have an actual supervisor because the supervisor probably has to do quality now because they have to get a new quality person to work for it, which I don't even think anyone should ever do a job at that place for the amount they pay quality. So he has to do that. And then we have the two people that are supposed to be on the floor helping people basically having to do the jobs on the floor and not be able to do their jobs. And yes, higher management does know this and they don't care. And if you know who I am and you know what I'm talking about, you know who you are. And honestly, I don't take any of it back. What are you going to do? Fire me again? I wanted to get that out there. Why? Because it's really agitating. Not all employers are like this. And so I'm trying to say is the employers are the ones that I have dealt with. But it doesn't mean every employer is like that. So you know if you're an employer, I'm not saying this about every employer. Some employers are great. I had a place where I worked at. It was a gas station. The management there was great. The person who was the manager there helped me tremendously to get better. Was willing to help me become better. And those are the type of people we need as employers. Because those people are willing to help the people who might have problems. But they see that they have the key to success inside of them, but they just need to access it. They need pushing in the right direction. And that is perfect because that's how you should treat people. It doesn't matter what job it is. But most people now don't want to do anything but the bare minimum. The reason for this is either complacency, laziness, combination of the two, or the fact is that from somebody from higher above them is not letting them do what they need to do, so they basically just gave up. And that's the problem. Is there something on top of the corporate ladder? I don't know where in the corporate ladder. Somebody's causing the bottleneck somewhere that's causing the entire company to have problems. So they basically, because they get a power trick, because they have all this power they can use, that's why they say absolute power corrupts absolutely. You don't understand the concept there? Here's the thing. I might not be the smartest man in the world. I'm not the dumbest either, and I'm very good at observing, depending on if it interests me or not. But I have observed a lot of things when I worked for other places. I've noticed that a lot of them have very similar issues every time I've worked at them. The fact is, a lot of people do not care about the well-being of the people they're working with, or basically working over in the typical sense, because the fact is, working with and working over are two different things. Working with means I might be a higher person than you. I might be the supervisor. I might be the CEO. I might be somebody in between those two things. But I'm willing to work with you to make this company the best it can be. The best that it can offer, that can be offered. The best of anything. We don't have enough of those people anymore. Now it's basically I look out for myself. And I guess I gotta switch off into why this is. The reason why this is the case is because of the fact of the me generation. And it didn't just start out with Gen Z or Gen Y or millennials or any of that stuff. I don't go by these Gen whatever. Because you always had the good stock and the bad stock from any other one of these generations. I know people that are very much younger than me who want to work. And I know people that are older than me who want to sit around and do nothing. So that is kind of a problem, because a lot of times a lot of people look at it like all these younger generations don't want to work. Well, that's not the case at all. The fact is that they gave up because they want to work, but you guys basically threw them out with the bathwater because you think that they're lazy. Okay? I'm not lazy. I will work my butt off, but I am not going to work myself into the ground, okay? I don't mind working overtime, but I don't want to work overtime every single day, every single week, and it's just not good for a person's body. You should understand that a person's body is not meant to work constantly like that. Their body will deteriorate, and then they'll have problems like bad backs, knees, muscles giving out, broken bones, because their body is literally falling apart on itself because you're basically pushing it too much. Okay? But that's because, as I said, they don't care about that because it's all about the self. It's all about me. Okay? Our generation it doesn't matter what generation it is. It's basically the culture has shifted into that situation. Before it was more about everyone else. Now it's all about yourself. There might have been people that was all about self, but they didn't go very far. Now, because the companies are so big, they can't fail, they basically throw everyone into... basically have these people basically running the companies into the ground and care more about efficiency and effectiveness than about actual people. Okay? Efficiency only works, though, also, and efficiency only works if you actually organize it that way. You can't just it just doesn't happen. And also, your idea of efficiency might be completely different, or might be completely different than somebody else who is actually understands the actual idea of what that actual word means. Okay? Efficiency does not mean make everyone work the most and give them the basic bare bones tools to do the job and nothing else. That's not efficiency. That's called bare bones. It's also known as the least essentials, or what's the word I'm really looking for? The bare minimum. There we go. The bare minimum. That's not efficiency. Bare minimum doesn't make efficiency. You should make it easier for your people to work. I've seen machines now in other of these places that are more older than me, and I'm 37 years old. That's not efficient. Why? Because we don't want to spend the money. Well, first of all, if you spent the money, then the things might actually work better, because I don't know if you know this about anything mechanical or anything like that. They break down after a while. And the idea of keep maintaining the same machine that keeps breaking down is less cost effective than buying a new machine. I actually had, it's my step uncle, but my uncle used to work for this place where he had to change the air conditioning all the time and fix it up and jerry-rig it to work. He said they spent more money for him to actually do that than they actually just buy a new system. But they didn't want to do that because it was too much money. Okay, this is the other thing too now. Because of the me idea, the idea of getting profit has altered between what used to be long-term gains to short-term earnings. Okay? Long-term gains was, I'm going to keep this company going for 50 years, or even to past my children's generation or my generation, and make the company the best it could ever be. They invested in equipment that would last for a long time. They would try to actually make things efficient. The idea of giving the right tools, giving them processes and procedures that actually would benefit the company to help them make it so that the company can keep going. I understand you can't replace everything with the latest and greatest. I'm not expecting that. But the idea of having machines that are 40 years old or 30 years old and not trying to try updating something that maybe 10 years old is kind of ridiculous. And most people don't even buy their machines, at least in manufacturing is concerned. They mostly get them from secondhand. So, or using it from other lines after they use them, even though they've been running them consistently and so much. As I said, machines can, after a while, will not run properly. It also doesn't help the machines are putting in an environment that don't actually work properly. See, most of these machines, especially with CNC machines, which I worked with, are supposed to be in an actual environment where it's climate controlled. And almost every place I work, not climate controlled. So your machines don't work at the proper efficiency, effectively like they should. And I see all these problems, like, I don't know, not holding the part properly because air pressure's all screwed up, you know? Air pressure happens because of lower and high temperatures. I'm not sure how the machines actually work. I actually gave this as my own 2 cents when somebody had a problem with the machine not gripping the part properly. I said, I don't know how they equalize the pressure, but if the pressure outside it is too low because of how high the humidity and everything else is, how the machine works, if it's not equalizing properly because it's not in the right environment, it could be dropping the part because there's not enough pressure to hold the part on the machine. That's what it uses. It uses actually pressurized chucks. So I'm saying is I don't know this. I just, this is my own 2 cents, but you should be putting them in the optimal environment. Again, efficiency, actual efficiency, putting it in an actual location that's climate controlled so it runs properly. It's not for the employees, it's for the machines to actually work. Also, don't turn them up so high that literally it'll break itself while trying to run. This happened at a job I got laid off from. They had a machine that would actually put push nuts inside of a dashboard assembly unit. They were told that it could run at this speed. They wanted to go faster, so they told these people that came in to fix the machine that you need to make it go this fast. They said, I can do that, but that's really stupid. They say, well, why is that? Well, if we turn this thing any higher, the machine's going to break itself and overheat the motor. And guess what happened? It overheated the motor. So half the time it was down. Instead of being able to run, maybe for 35 seconds, they wanted to go to 30 seconds or 28 seconds, and now they couldn't run any parts because the motor overheated, and those things are hard to come by. And it would keep doing it. People don't want to take the time to make things easier, not in the sense of for themselves, but for the company to run properly because, again, it's all about the short-term gains. Most people now care about, as long as it helps me during my time working, anyone else after me, don't care. See ya! When I get my pension and everything else, I'm gone. It's your problem now. That's funny because you do understand that if businesses go under, because there's been a lot of businesses that have gone under, especially in 2020. We all know what happened in 2020. So, yeah, that's a problem. You know why that's a problem? Because, here's the thing. You can't sit here and try telling me that these things are how jobs are going to be. You can't change them. They need to change, and they need to change now, because what's happening now is people can't get a job like me, because the fact is, a lot of times, they're also, because they're looking for the easiest amount of people to find and not to train them so much, they look for a bunch of qualifications they don't have. Kind of goes full circle, doesn't it? So now people can't get jobs because they don't have the qualifications. And all the times they look at people's resumes saying, well, we don't want to hire this guy. This guy's not worth it. Because maybe they looked at the fact that I have a degree. What does that matter? This means I'm trainable. No, you have a degree, so that means you probably want way too much money, so we're not going to even consider you. Or the fact is that, oh, you didn't have this enough experience, so we can't hire you because you don't know how to run the machine, even though that's ridiculous, because just because you have only a year experience doesn't mean you don't understand how the machine actually works. That's ridiculous. But that's what they look at it as, and they don't want to hire people they have to train. So they basically get the people that whatever, and because they want to pay as little money as possible, because they want as much money as possible, they leave the other people to basically say, well, you can't make it? Well, not my problem. You see the problem here? You see how this whole thing goes full circle? You see how that works? People don't want to admit it. But the problem is because of one big reason. Well, I guess two big reasons. Selfishness and greed. And greed kind of is part of selfishness almost in a sense in this situation. So I could say basically greed, because they care all about themselves. They don't want to do anything that'll make them lose money, and they don't want to say that they are wrong either, because of the idea of self. If you look at yourself as the only person that's worth looking into, which is narcissism, you're never going to be able to become better at what you do. You're going to become nothing more than a person that will never take any type of criticism. And this is a big problem too, because now people won't actually change the way they think, because even if it's not profitable, efficient, or any of those things, because if somebody tells them that you're wrong, if this is the wrong thing to do, they'll fire those people and get people that will say that, oh yeah, you're doing great, you're doing great, you're doing great. You need the criticism to become better. Mistakes doesn't mean that you're a bad person, or making a mistake or doing something wrong doesn't make you a bad person. What makes you a bad person is keep doing it and you know it's wrong. And you basically don't want to listen to anyone who has a different input, a different way of thinking. I mean, you've seen this with politics. You've seen it with politics. And just to let you know, politics might be something you shouldn't talk about at work or should implement at work, but it becomes part of your person. Because your mindsets and everything else is what causes you to become part of a political affiliation. And that is basically what forms you as a person with your own behaviors and characteristics. In other words, it's part of you. And if you're all about the self, saying that if you criticize me, you're a bad person, and you don't want any person to actually give you feedback, you're never going to become better and become a person that's worth anything. You know, kind of reflecting on it now after I've been talking about it and getting it off my chest, as it were, I'm kind of calmer now, but not by much, but I'm better. I realize that our society is going to crumble if we don't start changing something quickly, because people just don't have any aptitude to become better. And also, it doesn't help that certain aspects of our culture are being changed by technology, especially AI. And AI, to me, is absolute garbage, but well, that's another take for another time. But the fact is people don't feel like they have any... There's nothing they can do. What is it that I can do? What is it you want from me? I actually asked that multiple times today. What is it that people want of me? I want to work. I don't care what job it is. I want to work. I want to get a livable wage, of course. I want to work. I want to do something, but yet you don't let me have the opportunity because you think that I have this idea, or you assume that I have this idea that I should get something. And you know what they say about assume. Yeah, you know what they say about that. The fact is, people need to give people a chance. And they need to give people a chance to do it for longer than a few days to see if they actually are worth it for the job or not. And also, at least give them actual feedback and actually give them information to make themselves better. Because if something you do wrong and you're willing to have that criticism to become better, and all you basically do instead of trying to give them that criticism and get rid of them because they're not following what you want them to do, that's not on that person, it's on you. So, where do I go from here? That's a good question. I'm actually thinking about maybe I should write a book at this point. Not a book about this. I mean, a book. I kind of wanted to write a book for a while, but at this point, I have better luck publishing a best-selling novel than I had to actually get a job at this point. And I wish that was more of a joke than it actually is. Or make YouTube my thing, which, no. The amount of headache you had to go for YouTube is ridiculous. Maybe somebody out there who's watching this, hopefully I will be posting this in multiple places, has an idea what I can do. I'm willing to do anything. Teach me something. Show me what you want. I might surprise you. Just like I surprise people for what comes out of my mouth. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good one, everybody.